spokeswoman. Is that the right way to say it? I don't know. I don't know.
If you're woke, you probably call me a spokesperson, right?
Oh, all right. Okay, well, that's how you know we're not what we've passed
Yeah,
your
we're
first
not.
test.
Spokeswoman. Yes, I'm his general counsel and spokeswoman. That is my new
All
title.
right. Past the first test, you walked out yesterday and set the world on fire for 6 straight minutes, answering questions out front of the courthouse. We didn't get really any Q&A from any other member of Team Trump. I just want to ask you, like, what do you like? First off, what was the mood yesterday? Walking out there, how many press were there? What was up?
So much. So actually, there were so many people there that you couldn't see. I'll give you the inside edition version. When we pulled up, there were tons of people, and they actually blocked me off for security reasons. And where you can see right there, there was Secret Service actually that had to put 2 vans on either side, and they blocked them off because there were so many people. So there was 1 block where I was in the middle of basically 2 massive crowds. And then they selected press that came with us in the motorcade, came with us back to the motorcade back to the plane to take President Trump's comments after his arraignment. And those were there was that group, and it was the New York Times, all the big press, Politico, and anybody that went through the proper protocol got in there. So yeah, it was something.
You lit the DOJ on fire in these comments. What is your major takeaway from yesterday?
Honestly, the feedback was different from yesterday than Miami, right? I spoke outside the Miami arraignment, and it's sad that I can say I've done this now multiple times, but this was different because when I laid out, and I wanted it to be different, this one was just very factual. I chose to speak, for anybody who didn't hear it, I chose to speak facts because people can disagree with my politics, people can disagree with who I represent, but I'm a lawyer, so as an attorney, I think facts speak the loudest, facts that you cannot dispute. And the timeline are those facts. So the feedback I got on this one was incredible because I think both sides have a difficult time criticizing me when all I'm doing is laying out facts about timing and how ridiculously obvious this witch hunt has become. And, frankly, we know there's probably another one coming down, and I'll do the same thing there again. And I'm running out of things to say that I haven't said already because it's so obvious. But the feedback was really positive, and I think people are just waking up in a major way.
Donald Trump stopped in front of the plane and gave some pretty strong comments. We played him at the top of the show. Did you advise him to do this?
I always think he should speak. As much as I'm a loudmouth, he is President Trump, and he should speak. And they should hear from him, that he's okay, that he is strong, and his sentiments, because people are going to need to go to the ballot boxes in 2024 and put their money where their mouth is and get there and really make the right decision. So he's the candidate. He's got to speak. It's important. And I think what he said was right. It's a sad day for America, and this is persecution, not prosecution. And it's very unconstitutional.
So it does seem wildly unconstitutional to go to the president for free speech. We broke down sort of Jack Smith's insane single cat lady postmenopausal Upper East Side op-ed that he wrote about Donald Trump. It's very screechy, very much like find you in your apartment, with the cats. The cats have essentially eaten you. Nobody loved you. Yeah,
he couldn't look him in the eye.
Really?
Okay, that's a weak individual, because if Jack Smith was in front of me, I would look him right in the eye. And that's weakness. And I think we saw weakness when he tried to speak. I mean, maybe I should help him a little bit. But when he tried to speak to the press that day that he came out with his second bogus indictment, the first one was awful. And then he tried to come out this time and give some impartiality appearance of everyone's innocent until proven guilty. You have Trump derangement syndrome. You are the king of this. This is a joke. Don't be somebody you're not, number one. You go in front of the camera and you try and be fake, we can tell. And I think the American people saw that. And then he couldn't even look at the man that he's attacking in the eye yesterday. Doesn't that say everything?
Can you unpack that for us? So Jack Smith didn't even make eye contact with Donald Trump?
No eye contact. None. Couldn't do it. Don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to do it either if I was him.
Wow.
Weak sauce. That's what we call weak sauce. But he's a weak puppet. That's what I think he is. And when he is coming in with these bogus claims, writing them, and they're so, as an attorney, just have dignity for the claims that you bring to such a high profile case. Make sure that you're not doing the wrong thing. I've been dismissed on a case before that I brought for President Trump, but I stand behind that complaint. It ended up becoming true and coming out with the Durham report. So if you're going to do that, you better stand up and you better be able to look the person in the eye and depose them and really ask the right questions. And what I've seen so far of Jack Smith, I'm just not impressed. And I think his track record speaks to that as well.
Did Donald Trump and Jack Smith have any interactions in the courtroom at all?
He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't even look at him.
Wow.
I told you, he literally just,
out of fear,
kind of like he was, we saw it in the press
out of fear, cowardice, or shame?
Probably all of the above. Well, I don't think he has shame. I don't think he could have brought this if he had any shame. I think shame is something a person with dignity feels shame. If you have no dignity and pride, I don't think you have the ability to feel shame.
There's the judge who has worked with Hunter Biden as a colleague, who has defended the DNC and defended Fusion GPS in Russiagate, who should be immediately recused. Your thought on this?
100% accurate. I believe that person has no business being the judge on this case. I think we have issues with the venue. I think the venue is a tough venue, of course, but more importantly, you have a judge that has worked with all these people, as you mentioned. That's 100% a conflict. And then you have the fact that she's known as being an incredibly difficult J6 person. She's a lot of the problem. And the reason, we have these issues with these J6 individuals who have not had a fair trial or a speedy trial, but with Donald Trump, they want to do a speedy trial, as we heard yesterday. And there's been a lot of publicity about that. People that have been sitting in solitary confinement, people that have been sitting in jails and haven't been heard yet. I want to ask, why have they not been heard? But why do you have the time for Donald Trump? I'm just seeing the hypocrisy and seeing the ridiculousness of the court system coming out of DC. It's scary. It's scary stuff.
So Trump said on Truth Social this morning, hey, Supreme Court, just grab this thing and destroy it. We know Clarence Thomas is polishing his gavel, getting it ready. But what's going on when it comes to that? Mike Davis was on our show yesterday saying, it would take a second. It would take a hot second for this to make its way to the Supreme Court. Your legal strategy here?
Yeah. First Amendment rights are the most important rights, I think, as American citizens that differentiate us from third world countries. It's the reason you and I can do this show right now. So that's what the Supreme Court is here for. It's for constitutional and bedrock issues that are major issues in this country to make sure that we remain America and don't turn into an un-American state. And that is why those people that are selected into the Supreme Court go through such a vigorous process. And I think that it is a constitutional issue. I think it is an issue that will ultimately end up in the Supreme Court. And I think, Benny, you bring up a good point that people aren't talking about. They can try and have a speedy trial. They can try and rush things, but any litigator understands there's an appellate process. There are decisions that will happen along the way. There will be decisions we don't agree with that we'll have to appeal, and vice versa, by the way. It works both ways. So when you have that, this is not going to go as fast as they may like. But at the end of the day, I do believe that if it gets up to the Supreme Court or a good appellate division panel, then, they'll make the right decision, because this is unprecedented. It's a slippery slope. I mean, every politician should be arrested then under this, right? It's impossible.
Yes, I mean, we've read through the indictment. It was very hard. Again, it's very hard. It was like reading the op-ed pages of the New York Times on a very sleepy, like August Sunday, where these people who have severe problems write in, is screechy. It was really, really bad. But wow, is this case unbelievably vacuous? Retweets. Oh, he retweeted things. Oh, he said, go peacefully to the Capitol. And then he said... This one, I can't wrap my mind around this. Perhaps you could elucidate for me what the legal theory is here. Donald Trump said things that weren't true, and we're going to have to prove that he didn't know they were true. Right. And that's bad. And so that violates the
I think what they're trying to say is that he was advised by some people not to challenge the election. Well, okay. and he was advised by some in another way, and his beliefs are his beliefs, and that's the beauty of this country. And at the end of the day, we all know he still believes that 2020 was not a fair election. It's not a question that he still believes it. And, I think that evidentiary wise is going to be very problematic. They have to get into his frame of mind and prove that he actually believed it to be false and was peddling a false statement. But more importantly, that he had no basis to believe it. And that's going to be hard, because now we're going to challenge the election's credibility. And all we have to show is an inkling of reason to believe that something was stolen or something was rigged or challenged, that it was perfect. And we can do that easily. It's been done. So, I don't understand what's illegal about voicing for people to protest patriotically. I don't understand what's illegal about saying that you don't believe something was done accurately or properly as the sole person in the executive branch. But we'll see. I mean, again, this to me is frankly the weakest of any case that we've seen come out of the Jack Smith, whatever era, whatever you want to call it.
You're criminalizing free thought. It really, it comes down to that. You're criminalizing free thought. Being a skeptic is our right. It is actually the precursor to truth, is being skeptical of the official narratives. And I think that
by the way, it's our obligation. And I think as the president of this country, it is also your obligation to make sure that we have safe, secure borders and et cetera, and elections. That's what makes us America. This is one of the core values of our country that makes us America. So weak.
Last question here. I really do, because I hear a lot of people buzzing about this. You do get discovery here, right? You get subpoena power here, right?
Yeah, criminal. So obviously I'm not a criminal attorney, and I don't ever speak to something I'm not an expert on. But criminal is a little bit different. Obviously, we're going to get to see what their discovery was and their get testimony. They get to look at everything that happened in the grand jury, whereas up till now, we have no part in anything, and they can put on whatever. It's like a one-man show. They can put on whatever show to the grand jury and say, these are all the facts, and there's no rebuttal. So we get to rebut. It's not as voluminous as civil discovery. In civil discovery, I get to take every deposition I want. I get to deep dive. It's a bit different in criminal courts, but that is why I leave it to my good friends in the criminal case to handle it. And we have some great attorneys I'm really proud of. John Laurel's awesome, and Todd Blanche will do a great job, and I trust them. I think they're going to take care of it and get rid of this quickly.
So final comment on Jack Smith. He was in charge of ethics at DOJ when Joe Biden was getting bags of cash from every evil oligarch in the world. Any thoughts on that? I mean, it seems a little curious.
It's amazing. It's a little strange. I think that if there hasn't already been an investigation into his behavior ethically, I would be shocked. People always like to say, I'm going to lose my law. She's going to lose her law license. Not really, when you're looking at people like this, again, it's like, why? If you're a Republican attorney and an outspoken Republican attorney, then you should be investigated. But if you're a Democrat attorney who literally did not get appointed by anybody, you got lucky, and now you report to Merrick Garland, who reports to who? Biden. You want to tell me that you're acting ethically and appropriately? He should know about ethics. He clearly does not. But I hope that the right individuals, and they know who they are, I hope they're taking a close look at it.
Good. All right. Well, Godspeed, Alina Habba. We're just so proud of you. We're just so proud. We saw you march out yesterday and do 7 straight minutes, rapid fire, both barrels. It was awesome. You did an incredible job. Godspeed.
Thank you.